Welcome back to the deep dive. I hope you are ready to swim, because today we are opening a file on a figure who, quite honestly, feels like he is everywhere right now.
Oh, everywhere. That's not an exaggeration.
You open your LinkedIn feed, there he is. You walk into a corporate boardroom, someone is quoting him. You go on YouTube, and you see that, that slightly grainy video of a guy in a suit with a flip chart and a cheap marker, just completely changing the way millions of people think about business.
It is genuinely hard to exist in the modern professional world without tripping over Simon Sinek.
It really is.
He has become part of the cultural furniture of leadership.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that is why we need to talk about him. But here's the thing that really triggered this specific deep dive for me.
Okay.
Usually when we cover these massive business gurus, they fit a very specific, very rigid mold. They're the ex-CEO of General Electric.
Right, the Wharton MBA.
They're a tenured professor of economics at Harvard. They're quantitative analysts who crunched the numbers and, found the secret sauce. But Simon Sinek, he is none of those things.
No, he definitely breaks the mold. He's an outlier in, I think, the best possible way.
And I think the best place to start is with how he actually defines himself. Because in the source material we have in front of us, the biographical review, the publication history, he doesn't call himself a management consultant.
No.
He doesn't call himself a strategist.
Right. If you look at his own bio, the title he gives himself is optimist.
An optimist with a capital O.
A capital O. It is a defined professional title for him.
It's on his business card.
I think so. And I think for a lot of people that might sound a little fluffy.
Yeah, a bit.
It sounds like something you put in your Instagram bio, not on your tax return. But our mission today is to peel back that label and look at the actual mechanics underneath. Because Sinek isn't just selling good vibes. He has built a massive global empire based on a very specific, very rigorous way of looking at human behavior.
And that's the hook, right? We're going to dig into the fact that his background isn't in business at all. It's in anthropology.
The absolute key to understanding him.
We're going to look at how a guy who's studied cultural rituals and human tribes ends up advising the U.S. military, the Rand Corporation, and, some of the biggest companies on Earth.
It's a wild trajectory. And we aren't going to shy away from the business of being Simon Sinek either.
No.
We are going to look at the evolution of his bibliography, his institutional ties, and yes, even some of the controversies that have popped up along the way, specifically regarding government contracts.
It is a fascinating story. From a kid moving across the globe to a global thought leader. So let's start at the very beginning.
Let's do it.
Because to understand the why guy, you have to understand where he actually came from.
And where he came from isn't a simple answer. If you look at his early biography, the geography is all over the map.
Literally. So, Simon Oliver Sinek, born October 9th, 1973.
In Wimbledon, London, England. So he starts his life across the pond.
Right. A proper English start. But he doesn't stay there. And this is the part that really jumped out at me as we were prepping this. His childhood map is it's incredibly erratic.
It's nomadic.
He's born in Wimbledon. Then the family moves to Johannesburg, South Africa.
Right.
Then back to London. Then over to Hong Kong. And then finally, they settle in the United States.
Just pause and think about that itinerary for a second. We're talking about the 1970s and 80s here.
Yeah.
These aren't just different cities. They are entirely different universes culturally. You have post-imperial Britain. You have South Africa during the apartheid era.
A very intense place to be.
Absolutely. Then you have Hong Kong, which was this frenetic, high-energy British colony on the edge of communist China. And then you land in the suburbs of New Jersey.
That is a serious amount of cultural whiplash for a kid. I can't even imagine.
It is. But think about what that does to a developing brain. When you are the new kid that many times in that many different environments, you never fully belong to any of them.
Right.
You are always the outsider. You are always the other.
You're the third culture kid. That's the term for it, isn't it?
Exactly. And when you are the outsider, you develop a survival skill. Observation. You have to.
You have no choice.
If you want to survive socially on a playground in Johannesburg and then a year later on a playground in Hong Kong, you have to figure out the rules fast. You have to watch.
Who's in charge here?
Who is the leader here? How do they show respect? What gets you punished? What gets you rewarded?
You have to decode the tribe just to get through lunch.
Precisely. You become a watcher of human behavior by necessity. You learn to spot the patterns that the locals, the people who have lived there their whole lives, don't even see because they're too close to it.
So in a way, his childhood forced him to become an amateur anthropologist before he even knew what the word meant.
I don't think it is a coincidence at all, not one bit. That when he finally got to college, that is exactly what he chose to study.
Let's look at the education path, because this is where the foundation is poured. He settles in the U.S., goes to high school in New Jersey, Northern Valley Regional High School at Demarest, specifically.
Right?
Go Norseman, graduates in 1991, and then he heads to Brandeis University in Massachusetts. Now, if you are planning to become a massive business consultant, usually you'd expect this part of the story to be, and then he enrolled in the Wharton School of Business, or he majored in economics.
But he didn't. He earned a BA in cultural anthropology.
This, to me, is the Rosetta Stone for his entire career. If you skip this fact, you miss the entire point of Simon Sinek.
I agree completely, because cultural anthropology is not the study of spreadsheets.
Yeah.
It isn't the study of profit margins. It is the study of humans. It is the study of why groups of people behave the way they do. It looks at symbols, rituals, social structures, hierarchies, and myths.
Right. So for the listener who might not be familiar with the field, an anthropologist looks at a group, say a remote tribe in the Amazon, and asks, what holds this group together? Why do they trust their leader? What are their taboos? All these, invisible forces.
Exactly. And Sinek's genius was that he took that lens, that anthropological lens, and he turned it on the modern corporation.
Oh.
He realized that a company like Microsoft or Apple or American Airlines isn't a machine, it's a tribe. It's a group of primates trying to survive and thrive together.
So while other consultants are looking at the P&L statement, Sinek is looking for the rituals. He's looking for the signs of safety.
He is looking at the biology of belonging. If you listen to his language, even today it is very tribal. He talks about the circle of safety. He talks about servant leadership. He talks about trust as a biological reaction, not a contractual obligation. That is pure anthroposophy. It's straight out of the textbook.
It explains why his advice feels so different. It's not increase efficiency by 10%.
Yeah.
It's make your people feel safe so they can do their best work. It's a completely different paradigm.
It grounds business in humanity.
Yeah.
But interestingly enough, he didn't go straight from Brandeis to the TED stage. He took a detour that I think is equally important.
Right. The law school era, or the almost lawyer era, I should say.
The almost lawyer era, yeah. He studied law at City University, London.
So back to London again.
Back to London. And even though he didn't become a practicing barrister, this training is crucial.
Why is that?
Law is about logic. It is about structure. It is about taking a messy, complex set of facts and organizing them into a coherent, persuasive argument.
Okay, I see. So you have the observer from the anthropology side, the person who sees the human patterns.
Yes.
And then you have the advocate from the law side, the person who can build a clear, logical case around what he's seeing.
And those two things combine to create a very, very powerful communicator. Someone who can see a deep human truth and then structure a logical, irrefutable argument around it.
Which leads us perfectly to his first real career, advertising.
The industry of persuasion.
He worked at some serious agencies, Euro, RSCG, and Ogilvy and Mather in New York.
Ogilvy?
Yeah. These aren't small shops. These are the giants of Madison Avenue.
And working at a place like Ogilvy implies a few things. I mean, it's the Mad Men legacy, right?
Totally.
You are trained to take a complex product or a complex message and distill it down to one simple emotional hook. You have to be able to draw it on a napkin. You have to be able to say it in a tagline.
You aren't selling the features of the car, you're selling the feeling of the open road.
Exactly.
Right.
And if you look at Sinek's most famous concept, the golden circle, it is essentially a perfect piece of ad copy. It is a diagram, it is visual, it is simple, it is sticky. He took deep anthropological concepts about human motivation and packaged them with the slickness and clarity of a high-end ad executive.
Wow, that's a great connection. I hadn't thought of it that way.
It's the perfect marriage of his skills.
So he spends time in the ad world, he learns the trade of messaging, he eventually launches his own consultancy, Sinek Partners. But the moment everything changes, the tipping point where he goes from guy with a consultancy to Simon Sinek is 2009.
2009, the year the why went global.
He publishes the book, Start With Why, How Great Leaders Inspire Everyone to Take Action. And critically, he gives a TEDx talk.
We have to pause on that TED Talk. because the source material notes that this is one of the most viewed TED Talks of all time. We are talking tens of millions of views.
It's staggering.
And if you go back and watch it, it is strikingly low tech.
Oh, it's not flashy at all. There are no bells and whistles.
The audio is a little echoey. He's wearing a slightly ill-fitting suit. He doesn't have a PowerPoint. He doesn't have lasers. He has a flip chart and a Sharpie.
And he drops the microphone at one point, doesn't he? Or the marker. Just something clatters to the ground.
Yes, it's very raw, but that rawness is part of why it worked. And we have to look at the context of 2009.
Oh, absolutely. The Great Recession.
The world had just fallen off a cliff. The global financial system had nearly collapsed. Trust in corporations was at absolute zero.
People were angry. They were scared.
They felt betrayed by their leaders. They felt that business was just about greed. And here comes this guy with a simple marker standing there saying, "We are doing it all wrong. It's not about money. It's about why."
The timing was just perfect. It was the exact message people needed to hear at that moment.
It was a life raft.
Let's break down that concept, the golden circle, because it is the foundation of everything else he does.
Right. So for anyone listening, just visualize a target.
Yeah.
3 concentric circles.
Like a dartboard.
Exactly. The outside ring is what, the middle ring is how, and the center bullseye is why.
Okay.
Sinek argues that every single organization on the planet knows what they do.
That's the easy part.
We make computers, we sell legal services, we manufacture cars. Everyone knows the what.
And some know how they do it.
That's your value proposition. We have the best proprietary process. We use the finest materials. That's the how, the differentiator.
But very, very few know why they do it.
And by why, he doesn't mean to make a profit. That's a result. He's very clear on that. He means, what is your cause? What is your belief? Why does your organization exist in the first place? Why do you get out of bed in the morning? And why should anyone care?
And his big argument is that most leaders communicate from the outside in. They start with the what.
All the time.
Here is our new car. It has great gas mileage and leather seats. Buy it.
But the inspiring leaders, the ones who changed the world, the Apples, the Martin Luther King Jr.'s, the Wright brothers, they communicate from the inside out. They start with the why.
The famous Apple example. Instead of, we make great computers, it's
everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. That's the why.
okay.
The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed and simple to use. That's the how.
And then
We just happen to make great computers. That's the what. Wanna buy one?
it's a total reversal.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels completely different.
It feels like an invitation, not a sales pitch.
And he connects this back to biology, right? This isn't just a linguistic trick.
This is the anthropology coming back in a huge way. He argues that the why and the how correspond to the limbic brain,
Okay, the limbic brain.
the part of the brain that controls feelings like trust and loyalty. It's also the part of the brain that has no capacity for language.
Right. Which is why when you ask someone, why do you love your spouse?
Yeah.
They can't give you a bulleted list of reasons.
They can't.
They just say, I don't know, it just feels right.
Exactly. That is the limbic brain speaking. That's your gut feeling. So if you want to influence behavior, if you want loyalty, you have to speak to the limbic brain. You have to speak to the why.
But if you only talk about features and benefits, the what you were just talking to the neocortex.
The rational brain.
Yeah.
You might get a transaction, but you won't get loyalty. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it.
That concept just exploded. It resonated so deeply because I think people were starving for meaning in their work, especially after 2008.
They were desperate for it.
But what's interesting to me is that Sinek didn't stop there. He didn't just become the why guy and retire.
No, his thinking evolved. And if you look at his bibliography chronologically, you can see him expanding the theory, building a whole universe around this one core idea.
Let's walk through that library because it tells a story of its own. 2009 is Start With Why. Then we have a bit of a gap until 2014. And then he drops Leaders Eat Last.
Leaders Eat Last, why some teams pull together and others don't. Now look at the shift in focus.
It's a different lens.
The first book was about the individual leader or the brand, how to inspire action outward. This book is about the team. It's about the internal culture. How do you inspire action inward?
The title itself is a great story. Where did that come from?
It comes from a conversation he had with a Marine Corps general. He asked him, what makes the Marines so effective? Why are they so tight-knit? Why would they risk their lives for each other? And the general simply said, officers eat last.
It's a literal rule in the chow hall.
It is.
So,
When the Marines line up for food, the most junior recruit eats first. The senior general eats last. And if the food runs out, the general goes hungry.
wow. That is a powerful symbol.
It is the physical manifestation of leadership. It signals to the tribe, I will sacrifice my comfort for your survival. Your well-being comes before my own.
And Sinek argues that this creates what he calls the circle of safety.
Yes, the circle of safety. When we feel safe, when we know our leader has our back, our biology changes. Our cortisol levels drop.
Cortisol is the stress hormone, the fight-or-flight chemical.
Right. If you are constantly worried that your boss is going to fire you to save a nickel or throw you under the bus in a meeting to look good,
Which happens all the time.
you are dripping with cortisol. You are in fight-or-flight mode. You can't innovate. You can't trust. You are just trying to survive the day.
But if the leader eats last, if they prove they are there to protect you, the cortisol drops and oxytocin kicks in.
The bonding chemical, the love drug, they sometimes call it. It facilitates empathy, trust, generosity. And when that happens, the team naturally pulls together to face external threats instead of fighting each other internally. Sinek is basically telling modern CEOs that they are failing because they are ignoring our basic primate programming.
Leaders Eat Last was a huge hit. It made the New York Times and Wall Street Journal bestseller lists. It cemented him as a management expert, not just a marketing guy.
For sure. Then in 2016, we got a bit of a curveball. Together is Better, a little book of inspiration.
The little book. This one feels different. It's illustrated. It's almost like a fable or a children's book for adults.
It is, and it suggests a move toward accessibility. He wanted something that wasn't a dense 300-page business book.
Yeah.
He wanted something you could give to a graduate or leave on a desk in the office. It's the Optimism brand distilled into a pure, shareable format. It's snackable content.
And then in 2017, Find Your Why.
This was the necessary tactical follow-up. It was almost inevitable.
Because after Start With Why, the number one question he must have gotten was,
Okay, Simon, I get it. The why is important. But how do I find mine?
right, it's easy for Apple. They have Steve Jobs. But what if I'm a mid-level manager at a paper company?
Yeah.
What's my grand, world-changing why?
Exactly. So Find Your Why is a practical guide. It's a workbook. It has exercises and steps. It marks the shift from philosopher to trainer. He is giving people the shovel to do the digging themselves.
It's the application.
It's the application.
And then, the most recent major work in our source stack is 2019's The Infinite Game. And honestly, I think this is his most intellectually ambitious concept.
I agree. This is where he steps out of just team dynamics and looks at macro strategy. This is him thinking on a much grander scale.
Let's unpack the title. What is an infinite game?
The concept comes from a scholar named James P. Carse. Sinek takes that academic idea and applies it to business and capitalism.
Good.
Basically, there are two types of games, finite games and infinite games.
A finite game is like football or chess.
Right. Known players, fixed rules, agreed upon objective. There is a clong or a finish line. At the end of the game, someone has more points. They win, you lose. Game over.
Simple. Very clear.
But an infinite game has known and unknown players. The rules are changeable, and the objective is not to win, but to keep playing, to perpetuate the game.
Like marriage or friendship. You don't win a marriage.
Exactly. You don't win friendship. The goal is to keep the relationship healthy and strong so it continues.
And Sinek argues that business is an infinite game.
Yes. There is no such thing as winning business. You can't win global commerce. The game existed before your company, and it will exist after. But the problem is, most executives lead as if they are playing a finite game.
They are obsessed with beating the competition this quarter, being number one in their category.
And Sinek says that mindset is destructive. If you play a finite game trying to win the quarter in the middle of an infinite game business, you make bad choices.
How so?
You cut R&D to make your numbers look better. You squeeze your employees on salaries and benefits.
Yeah.
You degrade your product quality just to hit a number. You might win the quarter, but you eventually run out of the will or the resources to keep playing.
You burn down the house to stay warm for a night.
Precisely. In the infinite game, the goal is resilience. The goal is to build an organization that can survive the ups and downs and outlast the others. It ties everything together.
It does.
You need a why to have the stamina for an infinite game. You need leaders eat last to have the team cohesion to weather the storms, and you need the infinite mindset to navigate the strategy.
It's a very complete ecosystem of thought. He's really built a whole world. But speaking of ecosystems, we need to talk about the business Sinek has built around himself. Because he isn't just writing books in a cabin somewhere.
Oh, no. He's running a machine.
A well-oiled machine. And the sources give us a glimpse into how that machine is structured. First off, publishing. In November 2018, Publishers Weekly reported that Sinek started Optimism Press.
Which is an imprint of Penguin Random House. That is a big
A
deal.
really big deal.
Having your own imprint means you aren't just an author, you are a curator. You are a kingmaker. He is selecting other voices that align with his worldview to elevate under his brand.
It's a huge expansion of influence, and then there's the Optimism Company.
A digital learning platform. This is the scale play.
Right.
He realized he can't fly to every company in the world to give a speech. So he built a platform to train people digitally. It institutionalizes the Optimist title. It turns it from a personal brand into a corporate entity.
But what really caught my eye in the research, and this is where we get into the institutional ties section of our outline, is that he's not just operating in the corporate training world. He has some serious academic and policy credentials.
This is a crucial distinction. There are a lot of motivational speakers out there. A lot. But very few of them are instructors at Columbia University.
Right. He is an instructor of strategic communications at Columbia. That is Ivy League. That is serious academic weight.
And even more significant, in my view, is his connection to the Rand Corporation.
Yes, the Rand Corporation. For listeners who don't know, what is Rand? This isn't some fly-by-night consulting firm.
No, Rand is a global policy think tank. They were originally formed to offer research and analysis to the U.S. Armed Forces after World War II. They deal with national security, international affairs, law, business, health. They are the heavy hitters of strategic thinking.
The people who advise governments on incredibly complex issues.
The very same. And Sinek is listed as an adjunct staff member.
That validates his standing in a way that being a New York Times bestseller doesn't.
Completely different kind of validation.
Bestseller lists tell you that you are popular. Being at Rand tells you that serious people, people who make policy and strategy decisions with huge consequences, are listening to you.
It suggests that his ideas about leadership aren't just fluff, they have strategic utility. When you are talking about how to lead a military unit or a government agency, the stakes are different than selling sneakers. And Sinek has managed to bridge that gap. He speaks at the UN Global Compact Leaders Summit. He's in these rooms where global decisions are being discussed.
Which makes the next part of our deep dive even more interesting. Because when you operate at that level, when you work with governments and massive institutions, things can get complicated.
They certainly can. The optics get very tricky.
We need to talk about the IC controversy.
This is a specific event reported in the sources, specifically around June 2018.
Right. So June 2018, the Young Turks reported on a contract. The amount was $98,000.
And the client was U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE.
And the nature of the contract was for leadership training.
Correct. It was a no-bid contract, and it is important to note the facilitation here. The training was provided by Ernst & Young.
So let's break this down factually, just based on what's in the sources. Ernst & Young is a massive professional services network, one of the big four. They do consulting, accounting, everything.
Yes. And typically, large government agencies like ICE have standing multi-year, multi-million-dollar contracts with firms like Ernst & Young to provide all sorts of training and services.
So Sinek's involvement was likely part of a broader package.
It was likely a specific request fulfilled through that existing channel. It's not necessarily Simon Sinek knocking on ICE's door saying, hire me. It's more likely ICE telling Ernst & Young, we want leadership training, get us the Y guy.
But the headline, $98,000 contract with ICE, that lands differently depending on the political climate. And 2018 was a very, very heated time regarding immigration policy in the U.S.
It was. The family separation policy was major news, and this highlights the tension we mentioned earlier. When you position yourself as a leadership expert and your mission is to help leaders inspire action and create safety, who do you work with?
Right. Do you only train leaders of organizations you agree with politically? Or do you believe that every organization needs better leadership?
That is the central question. From a strictly professional standpoint, leadership training is a service. It is a commodity. Corporations buy it, nonprofits buy it, and yes, government agencies, including law enforcement and border control, buy it. They have managers and teams just like anyone else.
And arguably, one could say that agencies with high-stress, high-stakes environments need concepts like leadership and circle of safety more than anyone.
That is one perspective. If you believe in the leaders eat last philosophy, that leaders should protect their people and create a moral circle, then teaching that to a government agency could be seen as an attempt to improve the culture from within.
But on the flip side, from another perspective, Taking the money can be seen as an endorsement, or at least a normalization, of the agency itself and its policies at the time.
Precisely. And that is why it became a news story. When you are a public figure preaching optimism and why, your client list becomes a statement of its own, whether you intend it to be or not.
It's a fascinating case study in the business of philosophy. You can have these pure ideals, but when they hit the real world of government contracting, it gets messy. The lines get blurred.
It does. And yet, looking at the source material, this didn't seem to derail his career. He continued to publish, continued to speak, continued to build the Optimism company.
Which suggests that his core audience, the people playing the infinite game, maybe saw it as just another move on the board. Or maybe they separated the teacher from the student.
Or perhaps they recognized that the message of human-centric leadership is universal, even if the application of it happens in controversial spaces.
So we have covered the globe-trotting childhood, the anthropology degree that changed everything, the ad agency days, the viral TED Talk, the whole library of books, and the institutional clout.
It is quite a resume, a very unconventional one.
When you look at it all together, what is the through line for you? What connects the kid in Johannesburg to the instructor at Columbia?
For me, it is the role of the observer.
The observer.
Yes, whether he was a kid trying to figure out the rules of a new school in a new country, or an anthropologist studying a culture, or a consultant studying a corporation, Sinek has always been the one standing slightly outside the circle, looking in.
And pointing out the patterns that the people inside the circle can't see.
Exactly. The people inside are too busy. They're too busy playing the finite game. They're too busy worrying about the quarterly earnings or the daily metrics. Sinek stands outside and says, wait a minute, look at the biology, look at the trust, look at the why.
He simplifies the complexity of human behavior into something we can actually understand and use.
He creates a map. The golden circle is a map. The circle of safety is a map. The infinite game is a map. He is a cartographer of leadership.
That is a great way to put it. A cartographer of leadership.
And that ties back to why he calls himself an optimist. An optimist isn't someone who ignores reality. An optimist is someone who sees a path forward, is someone who believes that if we understand the rules of the game, the real rules, the human rules, we can build organizations that actually work for people.
And that is a message that clearly resonates whether you are running a startup or a superpower. Before we wrap up, I want to leave our listener with a thought. We talked about the infinite game, the idea that you're not playing to win, you're playing to keep playing.
Yes, a really powerful idea.
So, listener, here is the question for you today. If Sinek's philosophy is about the long haul, playing for the infinite game rather than the short-term win, how does that apply to your own career right now?
It is a vital question. A tough one to answer honestly sometimes.
Are you making decisions today just to win the week? To get the promotion? To beat the guy in the next cubicle? Or are you making decisions that allow you to stay in the game? Are you building the relationships and the reputation that will matter 10 years from now?
Are you focused on the score, or are you focused on the purpose? Because the score resets every quarter. The purpose endures.
That is the takeaway. Stop looking at the scoreboard and start looking at the horizon.
And remember, understanding your own why is the first step to staying on that path. It's the fuel for the infinite game.
This has been a fascinating deep dive. From Wimbledon to the world stage, Simon Sinek's journey is a masterclass in observation and communication.
It truly is. A lesson in finding your niche.
Thanks for diving in with us. We will catch you on the next one. Keep asking why.
And keep playing the infinite game.
See you next time.